What if I told you the future of education isn't locked in a curriculum guide or built in red tape? It's being built quietly, courageously, right here in communities like Overtown. I'm an educator who spent over 2 decades in the system. I led, I innovated, I held space for students others underestimated. I did the work, and yet I constantly hit the same wall. A system more committed to managing than evolving, more invested in procedures than in people. But I didn't walk away from education. I walked toward freedom. Freedom to imagine, to design, to lead. Learning rooted in joy, culture, and care. This talk isn't my farewell to the classroom. It's a call to unlearn what no longer serves and to step boldly into what education can become when we build it ourselves. We are no longer waiting, we are creating. I broke a few rules. Okay, I broke a lot of rules. I checked most of the boxes. I helped turn around schools others had often given up on. I built cultures grounded in care and excellence. But at some point, I realized something changed me. The system wasn't designed to evolve, it was designed to contain. And containment isn't transformation. Containment isn't justice. Containment isn't joy. I felt boxed in by policies that prioritize student scores over the students, control over connection. I knew what my students needed, but I was constantly being told how to deliver it, regardless of who they were and how they learned. Eventually, the weight of that contradiction became too much. I didn't leave education, I expanded my definition of it. I chose freedom for myself and for the learners that I serve. The dismantling of the depth of education, especially for students from diverse backgrounds, academically, physically, emotionally, was clear. Public and charter schools are and were under-resourced. The empathy and the cultural understanding required to support our students is missing. And as the needs of our students grew more complex, the systems around them became more rigid, not more responsive. And that's when I knew. Traditional system wasn't just broken, it was shrinking the possibilities of what education could be. So I stepped into something bolder, a new era of innovation, a movement built not around mandates, but around meaning. What we're doing now isn't just school reform, it's educational restoration. We are designing lab schools of liberation where Black and brown brilliance isn't an exception, it's the foundation. We are building investment-worthy models that challenge the outdated metrics and prioritize mental health, creativity, and culture. These aren't pilot projects. These are power moves. And they're not happening someday, they're happening right now. I launched Global Education Concierge and founded the Micro-Learn Hub with just a co-working space, a laptop, and a heart full of vision. As I was building, I was also learning and leading in other micro schools as the lead guide for middle grades. We started small but mighty, serving students both online and in person. At first, it looked like tutoring, but it quickly became clear we were building something deeper. We weren't just reviewing math facts or just writing essays. We were restoring confidence, reawakening joy, and redefining what learning could look like, what it could feel like. One day, mid-lesson, a student turned to me and said, "Miss G, I got this. Just give me a little space." You know what I did? First, nothing. My teacher mind was like, "Excuse me? Who was he talking to?" The old habits kicked in. I was still in this space even after he asked me to trust him. But I caught myself. I paused. I walked away, but stayed present. And something magical happened. He paused, looked up, and then it was like a switch flipped. He got to work. Head down, hands moving. He created a frog. Then he tried to build a lily pad, even though we didn't have the right Legos for it. But he didn't stop. He adapted. He designed. He figured it out. And in that moment, I realized something. Belief is a form of instruction. By stepping back, I was saying, I see you, I trust your thinking, I'll be right here when you're ready to share. That single moment rewired my relationship with authority. I had spent years believing I wasn't a traditional teacher, but truthfully, I was still holding on to the habits of control and habits that came second nature after years in the system. But when I released control, something else took root: collaboration, curiosity, confidence. The other students saw that I wasn't going to micromanage them either, and suddenly they began to talk to each other, asking questions, solving problems together. I watched critical thinking emerge, not because I assigned it, but because I allowed it. And I sat there watching, documenting, creating more lessons, being fully present, but no longer in their way. We're now evolving the Microlearn Hub, not into a replication of the system I left, but into a bold, learner-driven micro school, one rooted in affirmation, project-based exploration, and deep community connection. Our rhythm is guided by real-world experiences, apprenticeships, nature walks, field trips, rabbit hole curiosity. Here, students are free to follow their questions, not just complete their assignments. There's room for pauses, for pivots, for productive messiness. That's not confusion, it's creation. Micro schools like ours aren't simply smaller, they are intentional. We center students, not around a rigid curriculum, but around their passions, their pace, and their purpose. Unlike traditional public or charter schools, we don't assume learning happens in the same way, at the same time, for every child. We are not the alternative. We are the evolution. This is how communities build the future, by designing education with, not for, the next generation. That moment with the Legos, that wasn't just a shift for him, it was a shift for me, for the classroom, for the culture we are creating together. I realized that unlearning wasn't just a buzzword, it's a practice, a release. Unlearning meant no longer equating silence with respect. It meant replacing pacing gas with passion projects. It meant letting go of the belief that every child learns best when sitting still, or sitting in a row, or sitting upright. I had to unlearn the way school had taught me to control the environment every moment. Because students can learn in hoodies, they can stretch out on bean bags, they can learn sprawled across a sofa. They don't need permission to go to the bathroom. They need the freedom to listen to their own bodies. Unlearning gave me space to trust the process. And that trust created something bigger than just outcomes. It created a new rhythm. We started going on community walks, getting to know the store owners, the restaurant teams, the folks at the coffee store. Sometimes our morning meetings happen outside on porches, on sidewalks, with fresh air and fresh ideas. The classroom expanded, and so did our definition of learning. We invited families into our space, not to just observe, but to experience what students were building. Our learners led passion projects, hosted showcases, sent their own invitations, and facilitated the conversations. And the parents. They didn't just see their children learning, they saw them thriving. One parent pulled me to the side and said, I didn't know school could look like this. I didn't know my child could love learning again. That parent had to unlearn too. Unlearn the idea that rigor only lives in rows and rules and rubrics. She saw her child leading, questioning, creating, and she began to reimagine what success actually means. This wasn't just my shift. It was my students' shift, my community's shift. It was parents, guardians, and elders saying, thank you for believing in them. It was learning from all directions, not just top down. That's a 360 perspective. That's what it means to shift your focus and expand your lens. Innovation isn't abstract. It's happening now. At Career Exploration Academy, middle and high school students spent 4 weeks immersed in the medical field, not just learning about careers, but living them. They explored everything from administration of the hospital to EMT prep. They learned bedside manner, CPR, how to de-escalate intense family dynamics, and how to communicate like professionals. They earned stipends for their participation. Some even became CNAs, certified nursing assistants. Some pre-EMTs became EMTs. Some actually received real job offers after just 2 weeks. This is innovation in action. This is how we rewire systems from the ground up. And this isn't a dream, it's already happening. We are doing, we are building, we are unfolding the future right now. Overtown, your legacy demands innovation. Your children deserve options, and your brilliance, it already exists. You don't have to do everything, but you do have to do something. You can share your story, you can mentor a student, you can offer your space, you can lead a workshop, you can record a podcast in your living room that opens minds and doors. We don't have to wait for systems to evolve. We can outgrow them. We can build something better. Whether you have a laptop, a living room, a library, or a church basement, you have what it takes to start. Because the most powerful thing we can do is teach with joy, build with vision, and lead with love. Thank you.